Welcome back, thrifters and viewers. Today we are making a very simple apple crisp. While this is typically a fall recipe that you hear about, it can be great any time of year, especially if you've frozen apples from the fall, but it seems to be a family favorite for us anyway. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So we did use frozen apples. If you haven't, you'll want to be peeling your apples and coring them, everything like that. But this comes out to about 10 cups of apples, and we just went ahead and put those in here right away. Next, you'll need a cup of white sugar and then 1 to 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and kind of base that on if you really like the cinnamon flavor, do 2 teaspoons, which is what we did. If you just like a slight hint of cinnamon, only do 1. So add that, and then 1 tablespoon of flour. And then we will want to just gently mix this all up, just to kind of get an even consistency there. And another thing that you will want, if you're using fresh apples, you will also need to add a half a cup of water, not to this, but after we sprinkle this on the apples. However, since we are using pre-frozen apples, we're not going to add that water because there's a lot of liquid that comes out of the apples in the thawing process, and it just doesn't set up if you add that extra water. So now that this is mixed, we're going to go ahead and just sprinkle this mixture over our apples. And as you can see, it's already kind of soaking in because there's so much moisture on these apples. So like I said, frozen apples, don't add that water, but if they're fresh, go ahead and add a half a cup of water just over the top of this to kind of help the sugar seep through. And if you're trying to go light on sugar, you can definitely use a sugar substitute here, or just use less depending on your taste. But now that we've got that, we're going to go ahead and start making the crumble. So we'll come over to our bowl here, and I have 1 cup of flour in my bowl already. To that, I'm going to add 1 cup of packed brown sugar. And then we're going to go ahead and just take regular oats, you can do quick cook, or you can just do regular oats for oatmeal. And we're going to do a cup of those. And again, none of these have to be totally exact, just to give you a close estimate here. To that, we are going to add our 1/4 teaspoon. Bear with me for 1 second here. Alright, so I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. And then we're also going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. And then the final ingredient for this is going to be half a cup of butter or margarine that you've melted already. So we'll pour that in here, and then we'll start mixing this up, and this makes that nice crumble to go on top of your apple crisp. And I think I forgot to mention, at this point you will want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. So go ahead and do that if you haven't already. Otherwise, just keep mixing until we get a nice crumble in here. If it seems like yours is not coming together into a crumble, you may have to add a little bit more butter. Maybe you had a few more, little over measured on your dry ingredients. That's fine. All you'll have to do is add a little bit more butter, and nothing tastes bad with more butter, does it? And this is one that you could fairly easily make into a vegan recipe if you decided to use some sort of maybe coconut oil in place of your butter. And that one, it might not have as rich of a flavor just with the coconut oil, but that's definitely something that you could do. Alright, so now we have this, it's almost doughy here, crumble. So I'm going to take that and start spooning that over my apples here. So if this is a little bit thick, I might actually spread this out with the spoon once I get it all in there. If it's a little drier, you can just let it crumble over the top and spread it out. As you can see, this one's a little bit thicker. Alright. Go ahead and spread this out. And if you like a thicker crust on top of your apple crisp, feel free to double this or, you know, use the same proportions, but just mix it around here. I'm actually going to ditch the spoon and just kind of spread it out by hand. But once we do that here, our oven should be preheated to 350. And we will just want to go ahead and throw this in there for about 35 to 40 minutes until the brown or the top is nice and like golden brown and crisp, and you know, there's not too much liquid in there, but it will set up as it cools. And then this is something that if you don't mind it being a little liquidy, you can serve it right away. Otherwise, go ahead and wait for that to cool down and enjoy that with maybe some ice cream or just as it is. So there you have it. That's our nice easy apple crisp, and we hope that this makes a wonderful dessert for your family. And check back in for more affordable, thrifty recipes. Thanks.